How to deal with long-distance relationship without communication. Long-distance relationships suck. All 3 of my significant relationships have involved long distance in some way. As a young man who was terrified of any sort of commitment, I found that I could only allow myself to fall for a girl if she was at least 500 miles away. The first time, we both genuinely tried to make it work, but things fell apart spectacularly, mostly because we were both too young and immature to handle the distance. 1. You always need something to look forward to together. One of the things that kill long-distance relationships is the constant underlying uncertainty of everything. The longer you are apart, the more these uncertainties can grow into legitimate existential crises. That's why when making any long-distance relationship work, it's crucial to always have some date that you are both looking forward to. The minute you stop having some milestone to look forward to, the harder it will be to maintain the same enthusiasm for, and optimism in, each other. One thing that is true about all relationships is that if they're not growing, then they're dying. And growth is even more crucial in a long-distance relationship. True about all relationships. 2. Be slow to judge. A funny thing happens to humans psychologically when we're separated from one another. We're not able to see each other as we truly are. This can manifest itself in various ways within a long-distance relationship. In some cases, people get insanely jealous or irrationally possessive because they perceive every casual social outing as potentially threatening to a relationship. 4. Who the fuck is Dan? In other cases, people become overly critical and neurotic to the point where every small thing that goes wrong is a potential end to the relationship. Be wary. When stuck in a long-distance scenario, it's important to maintain some skepticism of your own feelings. Remind yourself that you really don't know what's going on, and the best thing you can do at any moment is to simply talk to your partner about what they're feeling and about what you're feeling. 3. Make communication optional. A lot of long-distance couples create rules that they should have X number of calls or that they need to talk every night at a certain time. This approach may work for some people, but I've always found that communication should happen organically. You should talk to each other when you want to, not because you have to. Communication is obviously important in any relationship, but simply more communication is not always what's best for the couple in a long-distance relationship, especially when it's in a forced context. This uninspired, filler-filled kind of communication often creates more problems than it solves. The second problem that can come from forcing communication is that one or both people can begin to resent feeling obligated to connect. The best way to avoid this mistake is to make all communication optional, meaning that both of you can opt out at any time. The trick is to not take these opt-outs personally when they happen. After all, your partner is not your slave. But, you do need to use your partner's, and your, desire for communication as a barometer for how the relationship is proceeding. 4. Make sure the distance is temporary. A long-distance relationship cannot survive without hope. And for there to be hope, there must be some possibility that the two people involved will one day be together and achieve a happily ever after. Without that shared vision of happily ever after, everything else will quickly begin to feel meaningless. Remember, love is not enough. You both need to have life visions that are aligned, shared values, and mutual interests. All hope for making it work was killed by circumstance, and we soon broke up. Both of us were battle-worn veterans of failed long-distance relationships, and one of our first conversations was that if we didn't feel that there was a possibility of us living in the same city again within a year, then there was no point in keeping in touch. Long-distance relationships can only work if both partners put their money where their genitals are. Paradoxically, you end up with this weird dynamic where the long-distance relationship forces you to make much more significant commitments to a person to whom you've had far less exposure than in a regular relationship. Because even if the relationship goes down in flames, you will have learned a lot about yourself, about intimacy, and about commitment. Because when you're stuck in a long-distance relationship, you don't really know what it's like to date the other person. Instead, you only have this halfway, vague idea. Distance prevents this constricted intimacy from ever forming in a meaningful way. When two people are apart, it's too easy to idealize and romanticize each other. It's too easy to get caught up in the drama of our minds instead of the calm and boring truths of our hearts. But then again, that's true for the vast majority of relationships. 10 And it doesn't mean we shouldn't ever at least try.